Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about this and why I think this is probably one of the best scooters in the world. This is a Honda PCX150, and I've talked to you guys about this before. The 150 from Honda might be the Goldilocks. It's the best blend of small scooter and maxi scooter. This gets to 60 miles per hour very quickly, and not only that, it is one of the most efficient scooters. I have gotten 105 miles to the gallon on this, and I can go 120 miles on a tank. There's some things about it that aren't exactly great, but most of this bike is just brilliant. I've been riding this thing for 12 hours each day, and I really feel like I have gotten to know this bike. It's not perfect. I got this as a fixer-upper. The owner that sold this to me was in North Carolina, but originally from New Jersey, so it's got a bunch of like rust, and he hit a car. So the front was a little wonky and I had to fix that. But one of the things right off the bat that I like about it is that it's got handlebars as opposed to everything covered up like in a Vespa. And everything about this bike is very well done, including the position that you sit. It's the most natural position that a scooter possibly has, and the seating, my legs and everything just feels perfect. This is a PCX, which I believe Honda considers to be a little bit of a touring bike, and I can see why. This bike is so ultra smooth that you can go across the continent. And I was like looking at bikes in Europe when I was there, and all the delivery guys had these, and there's a reason. This is a brilliant bike. This one's got a lot of plastic, but the plastic is deceivingly easy to remove. And it was broken, so I had to get a new one. And I got one from a newer bike, so that includes the lights up here. This is a 2013. It's very dirty from like just use daily. This is something that I really appreciate about this bike. These have 14-inch wheels, front and rear. Most scooters, including the Zuma, have 12s. What that means is that the 12s handle a whole lot worse compared to this. When you take a motorcyclist and you want them to ride a scooter, if you get on a 10-inch or 12-inch scooter, it feels completely different. This is much more natural for a motorcyclist. The 14-inch wheels are perfect. They feel like you're still riding a scooter, but still the handling feels like it's a motorcycle. And the thin tires, they help the smoothness and the MPGs, but one of the things is they are very narrow. So if you got thicker ones, probably would improve a little bit more with the absorption of the potholes. Is a front disc brake and drum rear. Suspension, it's much to be desired, but I believe you can get some ADV 150 Honda coils and put them here. I'm not really sure, you know. When you get a scooter, you just don't get great suspension. It's the same thing with this. Making a scooter based on a flat floorboard is not a smart thing. At least with this, you have the gas cap right over there. So much easier to fill. You don't get like fluids everywhere. Everything about this bike is just so well done. Honda really thought about it. I kind of wish that these taillights were like higher up, but I do appreciate that. I don't think I have any issues with visibility. Turn signals are these like streamlined oval type of things that you can replace with LEDs. So in Honda, the ESP in the Honda PCX stands for Enhanced Smart Power. A feature that helps optimize engine power delivery for different riding conditions, providing smoother acceleration and improved fuel efficiency. Now, I've had to replace the belt on this, and I did have an issue with one of the bolts from the transmission thing coming loose, and that was like keeping my rear tire from spinning slightly. But that goes to show how good and reliable this is. It keeps on going. Now, to replace the belt, you do have to replace or remove this piece of plastic to get to one bolt here. I kind of wish that Honda thought more like the Yamaha Zuma 125, like the ease of maintenance. But it's an incredibly easy way of removing this plastic, so I'm not really that disappointed in it. I'm so impressed by the bike's performance and agility that all of these little things don't really add up to much. Bike, in order to remove this plastic, there's this carpet, this rubber carpet you remove. But to remove the spark plug, there's this little door, and one bolt gets that out, and you can remove and replace the spark plug. That easy. Another thing I appreciate is that you have quite a bit of space to put your feet, including like it kind of goes up behind this plastic, and this shields you from the wind. So in the winter, this little pushing out is brilliant. So here you have the gas cap door, which I believe is the perfect spot for the gas cap. Let me show you how you open it. In order to open the seat or the gas cap, you have to put the key on. You put it onto the open position, and then you either pick fuel or seat, and you see it releases. Brilliant design, just using 2 cables, very easy to open, and that is, I believe, a great way of solving this kind of issue. No electronics, nothing. And that is the gas cap. Now I do wish that this was on a hinge so I wouldn't have to like look for a place to put this, but that's Honda for you. This is a much better position for a gas cap than the Yamaha Zuma. The seat, by the way, much larger. It's a little bit lower, and you have more storage than the Zuma or many bikes. Normally when you have a bike that's 14-inch tires and larger, you lose that ability. And this one's got plenty of storage, and you also have access inside here to put the battery on the front, and then you have your coolant reservoir right there. Things that annoys me is that many scooters have this entire part. Sure, this is a mess, but most scooters have this all covered up. The handlebars don't really exist because there's plastic covering. And I do not like that. The SH150, the Elite 110, this is a much more usable, practical, everyday thing to use for riders because you have handlebars. You have the ability of putting on your phone mount, your USB charger, whatever. It's so much better having this than any other system. Now, I do wish it wasn't chrome. I kind of would like it just blacked out like the Yamaha Zuma, but this is a whole different scooter. I can't really complain about the chrome when the bike is essentially brilliant and gets better gas mileage than the Zuma. Right side you have your typical kill switch, start button, throttle, front brake. On the left side you have your high beam, your horn, and your turn signal. As you've noticed that I hate this sort of thing that they do. I wish the turn signals were up here. Honda used to do that, but all their new bikes, they're switching for some reason. Also note that the turn signals, they have a very nice action to them. You cancel in, but also there's a pattern to the left and to the right, so you can grab it a little easier. These are nice details that I do like. And I equipped this one with a heated grips, which right now you don't need to use, but because at night this area tends to become cold in the fall and spring, so that's an amazing thing to have. Mirrors are perfect, except these mirrors usually go into this hole, but the problem is when you put them here, it hits this large touring windscreen that the previous owner put. This is not stock at all. Most scooters have a very easy parking brake that actuates the rear brake, and if you're parked in a slope, you're not going to roll and the bike is not going to fall over. This is the worst contraption I've ever seen. It's like you have to use the rear brake, push it in, and then kind of push it out, and then kind of use leverage here. Terrible design, absolutely terrible design by Honda. I wish that they did this a little bit easier. I wish they put it on the handlebar as they did the SH150 and the Elite 110, because I just hate that I have to do this. Like, I never use it. I never use it for a reason, because it's like a pain in the ass. So you push the front brake and you put it out, but it's just so difficult. It's so unnatural. And then if you want to collapse it, you push this button and then just reset it. But I wish that they would clean this up. I think there's got to be a much better way of doing this. Speedometer is a little antiquated, but also when you look at it, it's actually like really down low. And the Zuma is much higher up and more in your face. On this, you have one button. That's all Honda gave you. This is all dirty. I'm gonna have to do a good cleanup, but I just wanted to show you this. And it is nice looking. So in the middle, you have the speedometer, and at night, it's nicely illuminated. It's kind of typical to a Honda Civic with the colors and everything. I do like it. And then you have your turn signal, left and right. You have your high beam. You have a temperature light. Of course, you have the trip. Then you have here a little digital part. It's very symmetrical. You have your fuel gauge, trip, push it again. You have the odometer, which is 19,000 miles already. Push it again, trip 1. Not even a trip B. Honda, what are you doing? And you have an engine light here, and that's it. Not very complex. It's very simple. You don't need any more, but I do wish that they, gave you a clock or something. Nothing. They didn't even give you a clock. And here's something that's nice as well. It's this little door. It's not lockable. And then you can put various things in here, maybe your phone, maybe a charging port. But, no cup holder, no place to put like a bottle. I actually would prefer this to be open, but if they did have it open, it would be less room for your legs. There's no clearance issues with the legs on this. The handlebars actually sit up pretty high. Seating position. This is on the center stand, but the one thing you're gonna find is that my legs are perfect. Like the way you sit on this, it feels like your legs are like much further down. When you look at flat floorboard scooters like the Zuma, it feels like you're higher up. This is a much easier position to do this, especially if you're doing like on and off the bike type of riding all the time. And the seating or the position for the handlebars, so much better. If I turn this all the way, it clears my entire body. On the Zuma, I'm hitting the handlebars and the turn signals. So this is absolutely the way it should be. Not only is the PCX really interesting, this is one of the first 150s that came to the United States. They did have 125s briefly in 2011, I believe. It was first introduced in 2010 as a mid-size scooter, as a 125. And it was designed mostly for urban commuters and city riding. But it's also got this like touring type of handling that you could go much longer distances on this than on other scooters. 2013 is the first time that they introduced the 150 in the North American market. When I was in Europe, I saw these just absolutely everywhere. And you could even rent them for a weekly type of ride. Absolutely tons of sense to have this in Europe where fuel is $8 per gallon. This thing gets excellent miles per gallon. It's a 150, and I often see 98 miles to the gallon and 105 miles to the gallon, depending on how I ride. And I'm using the stock weights. Everything about it is stock, and it's got 19,000 miles. This thing is just an amazing machine, and if you can get past the looks, I know that maybe the looks are not for everybody. Some people must have a flat floorboard. I think that's a mistake. I think this is the way to go. That hump in the middle doesn't bother me one bit, and if I want carrying capacity, I think what they should do is make it a little bit more rugged, like the Zuma 125. I kind of would like that a little bit more as far as style, the ADV look, but I'm not too keen on the Honda ADV 150. I think that's way too sporty looking. The Zuma strikes a good balance of ruggedness and ease of maintenance. And I wish that they did something similar with this. In Europe, they have different technology for this that they do not bring here, which includes a stop-start type of technology where when you stop the bike, the engine cuts off for better fuel efficiency. That is not available in the United States, and I kind of wish that they brought it here. Just some interesting facts. This bike weighs 278 pounds dry, and it's got a 2.1 US gallon tank, that means that you can go about 130 miles per tank. Now, I've been trying to play around with the roller waste to see if I can get closer to like 180, because that would be pretty darn cool. But this bike off the line is so quick, it's so fun to ride. You know, it really is one of the best scooters / motorcycles I've ever had. Riding this thing is a pleasure. It is one of the best motorcycles that I know of that gets you the best bang for the buck, because these Honda PCXs are not as sought after in the United States as like Zumas and ADV 150s, and people kind of don't price these correctly. This should be a much more expensive scooter than what it is, and I am glad I found this one fairly cheap. In 2014, Honda made the PCX150 LED version, as it's called. It basically had a major facelift, including the LED lights and redesigned body and a few other tweaks. In 2018, they did another version, which is the PCX125 Digital, and it was released in 2017 in the Tokyo Motor Show, and they had a hybrid and an electric version available. The new Honda version of the PCX was expected to launch in 2018. 2018 to present, you basically have the hybrid version. In April 2018, Honda launched the PCX Hybrid series for both the 125 and the 150. And it featured a 48-volt lithium-ion battery. The model came with 2 motor assist modes, D for riding comfort and S with more power for a sporty ride. There is even a PCX Electric that started in Japan in 2018. And it had a lease availability limited to corporations. The PCX Electric had an interior permanent magnet traction motor with peak and continuous rated outputs of 4.2. The new version is the JK05 2021 to present. It's known as the PCX 125/160 ESP Plus. This generation of PCX received a new facelift and includes a redesigned duplex steel cradle frame, additional storage space under the seat, traction control, Honda selectable torque control, and a smart key keyless ignition. For a scooter, Honda put a lot of technology into this, including hybrid versions that we don't get here in the United States. But if I could tell anybody to get a scooter, if you want to get a scooter, the PCX is undoubtedly the best scooter I have ever had. And I'm not just saying that because I have one. I'm saying that because I want the new version. That's how much I like this thing. Start this thing and hear it roar. This one has got headlights up on the top. I added those, that's not stock. This Honda, there's a starting technology that's very interesting. When we turn it to the on position, it starts almost immediately. There's like no cranking involved. And why is that? Well, the Honda PCX has this technology called swing back that starts the engine by engaging the motor mode and placing the crankshaft in the best position for starting. When the throttle is open, the starter turns the engine, firing almost immediately. This happens because the crankshaft is swung back to the best position, which is about 0.3 of a second. That's why this bike is just the easiest starting bike. It just seems like everything is blended into the best possible technology package for urban mobility. It is time to take the bike out for a spin and see how she behaves. Acceleration. Look, this bike, this motorcycle, this scooter, it gets up and goes. The cons that this bike has is that it does not have a flat floorboard. Flat floorboards are much better for general riding and utility because you can carry things in the middle. The gas tank is there, so it keeps things down low. The weight on this bike is really low, but at the same time, putting the gas tank there has made a little hump on in between your legs, which is not bad. Acceleration on this is great. You'll beat a lot of people off the line. Scooters don't have ABS, and most don't need it. This one has got a very Honda thing. It's got link braking. So when you apply the rear brake on the left, it actually applies the front and the rear together. What I really like about this particular bike is that it feels like a scooter. It doesn't feel like a heavy motorcycle. When you have like a 500cc or even a 600cc Silver Wing, it feels heavy like a motorcycle. Sure, the weight of it is like low to the ground because of the design, but you still have a lot of mass. And with this thing, I mean, you can kind of throw it around, hop up on curbs, and generally you can be a hooligan. And I think that's the reason, like, if I was a criminal, if I was a thief, I wouldn't pick like a Dodge Charger, something that sticks out, or even a Nissan Altima. What I would do is like I'd pick a Prius or a Tesla, something that blends in a little bit more. You can kind of behave, you get a license to behave a little bit worse. Another big advantage of this is Honda reliability. You know, everybody talks about it. I'm like always surprised about Hondas in general. I kind of feel that we have all of these great options from Honda, and people still get Ducatis and Aprilias and Vespas. Look at the bike itself. Look, this one has seen better days, I have to admit, but in general, the look of this, it's awesome, and it kind of blends a little bit more because, you know, the style of today is to get ADV bikes, the Honda ADV. By the way, I'd love to have that, but when you look at the price of this, it's very difficult to actually get the Honda ADV. This is better. You can get one of these maybe in the winter time for like $1,500. In the summer, spring, you'll get them for $2,500. And what you have is a 95 miles to the gallon bike that's capable of highway miles, highway speeds for short amounts, and capable of even touring on it. You have 14-inch wheels, you have link braking, you have a decent amount of under-seat storage, and it doesn't stand out. Now, a lot of people, they want to stand out. This is not the bike for you. This is stealthy. This is just get the job done type of bike. And if you're thinking about getting a 50, I think I would recommend getting this one instead. It's just, the 150s from Honda, they have just knocked them out of the park. Like, they are as close to perfection that we can possibly get, I think, in scooters. I think this engine that's in this thing is just amazing. That was the Honda PCX150, probably the greatest scooter ever made by Honda that doesn't get enough respect in the streets. And make sure you go out and buy one before the prices of these just spikes. This thing is an incredible value, the best I've ever seen, enough that I'm considering buying one for here that's more modern and one for Europe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.